Please, if you can help me in letting me know if you're able to see my screen.
I can see your screen.
Okay, so hi. So the topic of my talk today is staying curious and how you can paint the bigger picture. And yeah, so namaste. I am Tanu Malhotra, and as you know, that I'm an Indian by origin, and I have moved to Toronto. I think more than a year back, and now I'm trying to explore Canada and its beauty. At the same time, I'm working with this wealth management firm called IGM Financial Inc. And I'm working as a user experience design manager and researcher. So a major part of my job is to build products for the Canadians in the space of wealth management and how we can really, create products for the next generation of Canadians, as well as keeping in mind the current users, and how can we really build engaging products for these people. Previously, I was a part of the SAP user experience design team, and there I have worked on applications pertaining to advanced manufacturing. So really complex processes involved and really complex information architectures to kind of crack. And before that, I was working with Samsung Research, and a major part of my work was in the innovation space, where I worked on futuristic technologies ranging from smart hearable devices to foldable phones to intelligent voice assistants. So yeah, I'll just talk around my learning. So a disclaimer here is that this talk is around my learnings from very little experience that I had in the past. So please bear with me, and yeah, I'll take you through these learnings. So to start with, like since we are in the context of IA, I just wanted to have a common language and understanding of what exactly is IA or information architecture. And in this regard, what I consider information architecture is a method to organize, structure, and label information pieces that are scattered across the system. And the goal of doing this sort of methodology is to find or rather just make this information really discoverable to the people, and at the same time it should be sustainable enough that the users can quickly find this information whenever they use the system repeatedly. And then as a result, we consider that our information architecture pertaining to a product is successful when it is intuitive enough to use and it is more user-centered. So yeah, for me, I feel that good information architecture is like air. It is very essential, but it is invisible. So that is the power of a good information architecture, where the users are able to use this product without having to rethink of around how they should be using an information or a specific task, and it is very seamless and they can quickly manage and move between the system very easily and comfortably, yet with utmost intuition. So yeah, so talking about my experience, like when I have been a part of a lot of mentoring communities, and I come across a lot of designers, especially the ones who are budding ones and who are trying. Like a lot of them are planning to transition from one space to the user experience realm, or there are a lot of fresh graduates who want to kind of permeate into this user experience design discipline. So a lot of them like they're thinking around creating a good product is something which is more visible and beautiful, and which is like at a very superficial level. So this is what I majorly ask them to do, like what exactly is the meaning of the product they are working on. So like really asking them to think around what exactly does the user experience design mean to them. So I feel in that scenario I really try to focus their thinking around what information architecture or what the structure of a product means to them, and like really not going and giving that going too much into detail in this, but yeah, so what we usually understand by an information architecture is basically what we see from the outside as a user. Like they could be information bits like home or about me section on a website. So this is something which is seen to the user, but there are a lot of layers which are buried beneath it, and which really create the very foundation of the structure. So yeah, so I'll just quickly run you guys through the iceberg model here. So the idea is that information architecture is majorly an ecosystem or an organization of information, which is based on few mental models, what the users think, what they have been, what their cultural context is, and then finding structures of these information and seeing patterns and really understanding what exactly would be beneficial for the majority of the users, and then creating the layer which is really visible for the users to interact, uh, for them to interact with the product. So usually, this is what I would say is my current pain point as a mentor and as a person who is, little like beyond a fresher experience in the industry, is that the people, especially a lot of designers, are focused towards a very specific problem, and then they think that creating an information architecture around that specific problem creates a great product. But and then they consider that product is successful because it is being able to use by the users in the it's usable and the users can use it in an intuitive fashion. So they really consider that this is the success of the product they have worked on. But in the current context, if we see that the technology is always evolving, the situations are always changing. So we really cannot, work on a smaller problem area and, creating a structure and say that, we have created a successful product. We really have to zoom out and see what is going out in this entire gamut, and how people are interacting with technology or products around them, and really thinking around them to create a robust experience for these people. So what these people designed versus now, if the things change and if the companies, especially the businesses, try to scale their products, this is what they would see. So ideally, they have just worked on a very specific piece, or a specific piece of the puzzle, but a large part of it is remaining as is. And in this scenario, they have to tackle another product which could be leaning more towards the first one, and then create another sort of information structure for those sort of products. And this is what they see, like you clean a room and then you open a cupboard and you see, oh my god, there is another level of cleaning required. So for me, if I consider a great IA, which really governs a good and a really intuitive product, is understanding whether that product is scalable enough, and that is majorly defined by the information architecture. Because that, if we think that our information architecture is scalable enough, that kind of governs how the products would be used in the entire ecosystem. So if we really think about how we of how IA works is basically there's a user, and the user could be anywhere around audience, tools, needs, or information, or their information seeking behavior. Um, then we have context. So this is basically the business goals which the users kind of try to follow, or it could be the context could be the technology which is currently changing or resource constraint. And then we have content which is governed by the user, the way they behave with the context and what content is presented to these users. So this is our baseline understanding of how the IA would work at the intersection of user context and content. But to be honest, everything is changing. The user is changing, the technology is changing, the context is changing, and the change is the only constraint. The change is the only constant. And I really don't know who had kind of quoted this, but I really like this terminology because it keeps me on the toes and really keeps me curious to know what will happen in the future. So in this regard, like especially for designers, there is a request, or maybe my recommendation here, that they should try to switch gears between tactical thinking, which is more of a short-term thinking, where they think that they can tackle a very small problem space or work on a very smaller piece of product, and they think that this is what is the success. But they should really focus now towards strategic thinking, where they can think of the long-term vision of how this product would be used in various contexts by various users, and what sort of different content can be presented to these people. So to give you an example, right now the pandemic was a classical case of how situations change, and designers have, especially user experience designers, have the onus of keeping the user experience intact in the current situations and environments. And this really requires like a foresight thinking or a strategic thinking. So a strategic thinking, or perhaps creating a vision, has multiple elements around it. So we, as designers, a lot of us have a lot of these things already there in place, which is systems thinking, information gathering. We also, are good at decision making or around which design would work the best for the users. We know we can really analyze information. We have that intuition because we have empathy for the users, and of course because we are designers, we are creative as well. But the thing which I see here is the lack of intellectual curiosity. that's uh, that's something which I think is something which the designers should hone, and they should practice every now and then in order to create a visionary product, and a product which is future proof. So, like as Henry Ford has also quoted that anybody who stops learning is old, whether they are at the age of 20 or 80, but anyone who keeps on learning stays young. So this is something which the designers can also practice in their personal lives as well, like curiosity and keeping, learning about more things should not be just on the professional front, but it should be on the personal front as well, because that's how you should be always, up to date with things, and you will always have, meaningful conversations to strike with each other. So in my scenario, how do I stay curious? When I am working on my designs or a problem statement, it's just not that I keep on focusing on the problem at hand. I look for trends which are in domain and outside the domain. I try to also understand the changes in human behavior. So how, various situations are changing the human psyche. So a simple example is now with the advent of digital products, how children are engaging with technology. What are their risk and adverse effects of these products on them, and how as designers we can be really up to date and follow responsible design practices to not let all these things alter in the long run. Also, a closer look at the tech or innovation is very important, because that is where you would really understand what is the context and how that would be evolving in the future. So, really having foresightedness towards these bits is also very important. I also try to, when I'm working on my projects, I try to build a product vision. So it's just not solving a problem at hand, but also thinking of what could be tackled in the next years and maybe beyond as the technology advances. And then knowing the business is also important, because that is something which you are designing for and you would be creating a robust user experience for. So if you know how your business is working and how this would evolve in future, that would also keep you your ideas and your vision future proof. And then last but not the least, understanding cultures is very essential, because people are on the go, and each and every country almost is becoming diverse in nature, especially like if you consider Canada, which has like the maximum diversity which I have seen. So in that scenario, how these different cultures interact with various bits of technology is also very important for me to evolve my products in future. So yeah, in the end, I would say as a designer, as the people who are advocates for the user, our job is to see the future and really keep our products future proof in the best interest of the people. So thank you, and yeah, let's talk.
Thank you so much, Tanu. I think there are several quite there are many phrases that I would like to keep for myself. I think
Thank you.
the one that really quite resonated in the chat was information architecture is like air. And in that regard, yeah, sometimes it's like air, feels like a nice breeze, like a summer breeze, or sometimes it's like a hurricane.
Yeah.
I think for many of us, the question goes, hey, when you are in this midst of overwhelmed processes and projects coming in, coming out, what do you do when you want to switch gears and instead of focusing on tactics, you want to move towards a strategy? Any advice or tips that you can share with us?
So yeah, I can really give you examples from my experience in the past. Like, it is very essential. Like when you are provided with a problem statement for the designers, it's just not that we should focus on working on that problem statement, but really finding various scenarios in which that problem could transition. So, say for example. If you are using like Tesla, for example, if you see, like it has built electric cars, and now it is bringing its facility to India. So in India, if you consider the culture, there it's chaos everywhere, and in that scenario, how do you think would a specific car which is autonomous would work? Because it is more AI driven, and there could be a cow which can come in between the road, or maybe a jaywalker. So really understanding the scenarios for these cultures is also very important. So I'm that's how I'm trying to say that could be various avenues in which you can really scale your scenario building process. So it could be based on tech advancement, based on human behavior understanding, based on how various cultures work. So this keeps you really abreast of what could be the various manifestations of your products, and who could be the various users at the large scale of it.
Fantastic. So going along the lines of trying to understand this transformation from
Mhm.
tactics to strategy, Another question that comes along the way is from Tanu, sorry, for Carm. And she's asking about, hey, how do you manage that if your boss is just focused on that? You know, how do you
Mhm.
retrain or influence your stakeholders, especially if you have to manage up a couple of people?
Right. So that's a very interesting question because that is again which I have to balance and juggle between my work every now and then. It's really creating the value of the strategic foresight which you have. So say for example, in my past in work, I what I did was I was working on a specific uh, problem and a product, but I took side projects. So those side projects really helped me in bringing the product's vision to those stakeholders. And obviously, like every company wants to grow and they want to build products for the people, and if they have that understanding of that scalability of their product, and it could be just like you can put in your thoughts or ideas together, like in this scenario my product would work like this, or maybe when voice assistant comes into picture, or when AI comes into picture, this specific product might work in that scenario. And you really create that pitch proposal or a deck as your side project, and as and when you get the opportunity to you showcase that. And that really helps the product teams also to kind of create roadmaps and really think beyond what is obvious. So yeah, I mean, you really have to be on your toes and keep these as your pet projects or side projects.
Hmm. That's very interesting, especially in the side of trying to always, let's say, keep a side project in mind. That also means that you have to manage your energy, so you are not totally
Yes.
consumed by the everyday life, but just have to budget some extra time or
Right.
mental processes to go there. You know, any particular tips you can give us to, let's say, save something for the best?
So yeah, I would, as I mentioned, that is where intellectual curiosity comes into picture.
Mhm.
Like try and think that you are not doing that specific piece of work for your organization or something else. You think that you're doing for yourself because in the end you're learning and you're building your personal experience. And that pet project, which is related to your work, acts like a trigger for you or a motivation to work on that specific piece of work. So yeah, I mean, just always think that what you are learning outside the business or the your work realm is something which is helping you grow in your personal experience as well.
Mm, fantastic. That's pretty cool, especially when you mentioned intellectual curiosity as a method to stay younger. All
Mm-hmm.
this time, I was like, oh, I think I'm doing it wrong. You know, I just, let's say, I'm looking at myself and it's not working. But yeah, I guess it goes more along the side of what's inside my.
Yes.
So for all of these, how do you inspire intellectual curiosity to more people? I think it's sometimes, regardless of the age, that could be a bit of a challenge.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, intellectual curiosity could be like it could be anything. You try and read political information, or you are really aware of the current affairs, or in my case, like I really try to understand how human behavior is evolving. So it's not that you have to be really curious about each and everything. If you keep one area of focus and you try and learn in that area, I think that is something which is adding as your personal expertise, and it keeps your intellectual curiosity ignited, because whenever there is some discussion like that, you're always having some sort of pointers to talk around.
That's fantastic. Well, we have one last question. What is keeping you curious right now, today? What is keeping you curious?
There are lots of things which are keeping me curious nowadays, especially the mental effects of the technical products. Is something which something which is very close to my heart, and I really constantly keep on thinking how we can create technology which does not have adverse effect on mental health of the users. And yeah, be it from lesser screen time, or be it by using pervasive technology, which is, you know, not very intriguing in their lives, yet at the same time, which acts like an assistant whenever required. So there has to be like a perfect balance of how technology could be used versus how technology can become an addiction. So really trying to, I'm like doing my own bit of I would say I do research. When I'm going and traveling, I see human behavior, like how people are interacting with their phones, or maybe, sitting in a restaurant, how kids are playing with this, and what is their parents' behavior around that. So really, that is something which is I am right now working on.
Wow, that's well, not only a very relevant question when it comes about the responsibilities that we have, but
Mhm.
also I guess it gets extrapolated by the current situation that we're living. So, well, I will be super happy to hear more about your findings, and also for anybody in the chat or in the audience, I think it would be fantastic to follow up with you. Any particular preference on how they can reach you?
Yeah, so I have my Twitter handle here. So please feel free to drop me a message on Twitter, and maybe if you'd like to have a call, we can have a chat there.